This is day 504 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. I have a new computer today with a new camera, courtesy of Alex Gorenstein, who was one of my Talmidim for Sameach days, and great ashkoyach to him for upgrading my capacity here. So today we are doing Simon. If you'd like to sponsor upcoming Shir more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. Be greatly appreciated. So we're doing Simon Shin Tesvav still. Ches to Tesvav. Yeah. Ches. Asiyas o mitchil lasos alfonos. To make an OL, you begin with making the fanos, the walls. And then to put the roof on the walls. But you first make the roof and then you put something under the you first make the ceiling, the roof, and then you put something underneath it, the walls underneath it. Oh, that's not called no. But Tom Nearly came to all have a tola to the bone. Arukh HaShulchan explains that because the OL is a derivative of bone. Should be an Ev so God couldn't find us. When you construct something, a structure, you can't make the wall before the roof before the walls, or you saw the furnace, or at least before the foundations of the walls are in. So to in a tent, God, we call him, we make the roof first, and then put walls underneath it. That's not called nowhere. Therefore, if you have a bed, which you make out of sections, you can't put the legs down first. Or it's if the walls extend to the ground. And then put on top of them the boards as a covering. First hold the boards in the air, and then put the legs underneath them. A bed which has no walls. Most of our beds today do not have any walls to them. It's permissible no matter what. There is no OL. The same is true by the table. I think as you saw previously in the previous sif. The Biur Halacha writes that according to what he clarified, it's possible that our beds do have walls because we don't need that the walls should be 10 tefachim high, which is just as any mechitzas koldum, which is a chiddush. If that's the case, beds have two walls, one at the top of the bed and one at the bottom of the bed. And even though they don't get to reach down to the ground, you have to make sure that perhaps there is less than 3 tefachim to the ground between them and the ground, which is like lavud. It sounds like a very big chumrah. I don't think it does apply in our beds today. Mishnah writes also that putting the table together or the bed together, it's only when the sections are relatively loose, if any, to each other. But if the board on the table is very, very tight into the legs, as is true in several types of tables, then it's also because of boiner. Test. A bed which has walls, but no boards on top. But rather it's strung with ropes which hold up the person, or for that matter, hold up a mattress. They put the mattress on top of them. And if between each rope and your next rope there's 3 tefachim, also b'Shabbos. Now let's put mattresses on that on Shabbos, because the mattresses themselves become the OL. And you're not allowed to move the lowermost mattress on Shabbos because that destroys the tent. So what you do? You should leave a pillow or a blanket or a sheet, which is least spread out. A tefach from before Shabbos begins. And then on Shabbos you can stretch whatever you want on there. All right, because that's adding on to a temporary tent. Right? You should be careful, however. You should put down the additional mattresses or covers or whatever they are when that pillow is still on it. Because if you take over the pillow, hooray, you destroy the tent. Then you won't be able to spread it on afterwards, as we said. If between if there's no gap between the strung whatever they are, strips or pieces of rope, it's okay no matter what. The me and Lavud could say Lavud because so it's if it's closed. And was made for before Shabbos. So we're talking about in any event, you have to put the crisscrossing things on top before Shabbos begins. The question is how far apart they are in terms of whether you can be moisev on Shabbos or not. Mishabur writes that even if in one place it was little less than 3 tefachim, that's enough for it to be considered a roof, and that is a very big kula from the Mishnah Berurah. Your kise also prokin. If you have a chair which is made of sections, when you want to sit in it, poskim so you open it up, or niftach, and the leather opens up. And when you remove it, then you close it up, and the leather is folded up. I guess it's like a collapsible chair, something like that. It's okay to fold and unfold the chair. It's not going to be all in any sense. Since it's all one unit, it's just collapsible. It's made just to sit and not to spread a tent. So the Mishnah Berurah says, first of all, that this is true even if the chair has walls, and by extending it, somehow you extend the walls, which is not going to be relevant to us. It's still okay. Mishnah Berurah says, the reason why this is okay is because really the chair is there, right? It's just you're then expanding it in order to sit on it. But I guess there's already like a tefach there from before Shabbos began. So that's really not the same as the Arukh HaShulchan. The Arukh HaShulchan says it's made for yeshiva. It's not made to be an oil. Mishnah Berurah is saying it can be considered an oil, but nevertheless, since it's more than a tefach before Shabbos, so therefore it's okay to open it further on Shabbos. You're also allowed to put up a chuppah and remove it. I'm not sure why. It's not getting married on Shabbos. This is some sort of board which is by a wall in the shul. Not sure exactly what that is. You're allowed to put it up and take it down. Those people who have concern to put tablecloths on the table when the sides of the tablecloth extend to the ground. Because like making a tent for toes, it's a mistake. Firstly, because there's a board on the table already. The tablecloth does not have a shame oil. So also that which extends over the sides doesn't have a name of an oil. Furthermore, and explain that when you don't need the airspace underneath it, it's not called an oil as well. You can also put a cloth on your stender and shul for this reason. Even though the sides of the mats of the cloth hang down. And some of this on this is just astonishing. It's very strange to be machmir. It's interesting because anyway, because first you're making the roof and then the walls. I would say before, the derech was only make the walls first and then the roof, then only then you chayiv. So therefore, the here it should be potter because it's not derech hasiyas altogether. When you put barrels one on top of the other, one on top of two, so it's like a pyramid. But you have to hold the topmost one in your hand, and put the other two underneath it. But don't put down the bottom ones first, and then put the top one on top of it. Top of them, it shouldn't be like an O. And this is where you need the airspace underneath. And he says here, interesting, Lam this here, I guess the name the Taz. He needs the airspace between all the barrels, so they won't they won't go bad. It's clear that to open and close the chimneys in our ovens, with some sort of metal stopper, which I guess a damper, I think it's called. There's no issue of because there aren't walls around it. I'm not sure if that's the situation, but I assume it's also about Yontif, since it seems like the oven is on. Also, that it's very much covered around it. All right, it's only like adding to a temporary tent. Only when there is fire in the oven. Also, that's also because Mavir Mechaba, well, obviously it's talking about Yontif, and now Shabbos, not Yontif, so also because Mavir Mechaba, evidently it's talking about that something where you're just covering it and not making it hotter or hotter. Avlom Shmuel, there's there, but even after you care about Mavir Mechaba, there's no Isser of oil. Brackets, now allowed to close a oven with a thick covering. Must mean that they had some sort of different metzias than we have. Okay, I missed a bunch of Mishnah Berurahs here. What are we going on? He went from Tez Zayin to Yud Zayin. Okay, so first of all, it goes back to the case of the not sure I read this before actually. In Yud, maybe I skipped this. It says our metal beds, posting some soaking some. You open them and close them. The ends into Kedar Chasiyas old because that's not the way you make an oil. Which is to first make the walls and then the roof like a building. Especially because they have no walls. Okay, so I think I skipped that before. I apologize. So so in this, the Bir Halacha writes that in our beds, in beds where you put on a sheet on Shabbos, after you remove it, I guess you're changing sheets. Or maybe it's a sheet you're putting sideways on it, like on a canopy bed. And it becomes like an oil. Because first you're making the wall, which are the sheets on the side, and then the roof afterwards. I guess the canopy is also made. Maybe that is the chuppah, which the Arukh HaShulchan is referring to, which before that was the chuppah of Kiddushin. Boy, did I mess this one up. So the chuppah is the canopy on top. So that Mishnah is saying, if you put it up the sides of the four-poster bed, right, we have the canopy on top, and then the canopy over it. So then that's the derech of a CS oil, and it's also. But if the beams of the bed are closer to close in 3 tefachim, that's lovely, that's possible. You can put the canopy on. But in any event, this idea of spreading the bed is difficult to allow because it's a tircha on Shabbos. Because there's a covered orchim, covered guests who came to him, so then we're not concerned with the tircha. But if there's another bed to lie on, it's certainly not, you should not extend these beds. I'm not sure if this is actually talking about when there's a canopy. I really don't know what the Mishnah is talking about. It sounds like he's talking about whether it is a flatbed and somehow or another you put the sheets on it before you put the top on it. I guess it's talking about a bed where, like before, it has crisscross. I don't know exactly what the Metzias is here. Okay, be that as it may, the Mishnah Berurah says about the ovens that even in a manner which is forbidden, if it would be forbidden to take a fresh covering, if there's a lid there which is affixed to the oven, you're allowed to close it. Because since it's there permanently, it's like a door. And the Seven Shabbos and what that writes, that which among Avram is unsure, is specifically where the hole through which the smoke comes is 3 tefachim in diameter, because otherwise we say love would be permitted. I mean, Pri Megadim is not so clear about this, but he says I make a low seat. Somebody's lenient. This doesn't lose out. Yud Beis. This is a big question here. The Fimash is bar, but the Tanayot, based on what we clarified. In the conditions of attention, you have to have walls, and you have to have some sort of use under the tent. He came out with that. She's bar, Simchin Aleph, Siv Kuftes, the Shita Sabina Tam, the Kova Mispashi Tefach. What is that chumrah we have? A hat which has a brim, which is a tefach wide. Males naim beyond the ears. Depends on what a wide person's ears are. Have a oel. It's a tent. Vasa love shul b'Shabbos. Now that's wearing Shabbos. The shuma siyas oel. V'chein kosav Rambam so perach beis del shono. Kova chuli motzi min abeged v'chulei. Osim neshu osa oel. All right, on kal shono. Right, but still no oil. But there are no walls underneath. Also, you don't need the airspace underneath. Oil itself. But specifically, a person wants to make something dafka to be an oil, which means for the purpose of shade. Interesting. So in that case, you don't need all of these conditions. Since the initial creation of this thing, words for the true definition of oil. First, for shade, it's also Ayin Sham. About the hat you put on the head. Yeshlo Safa Makefes and has a brim around, shows that cell. It makes shade. Come on, well, looks like a tent. Ayin Sham. So the way the Ram explains it. He said, this comes down to when you're making it to be a protection from the sun or from the rain. Don't know those conditions. These conditions are in other areas where you're not doing it for shade or for protection. But it's no anyway. For as V'gam parasol should call in Reagan shrim, an umbrella, or gamarhum. Okay, he holds it's a true OL. Also, he saw so b'Shabbos now at Gan Shabbos. I feel b'chotzer even in the courtyard. They should nasa rak lahagin alahayil ne'achamig shamim. So he is big on it, but he holds an umbrella is of course an all right, but it's a true O because it's made for protection. Anything made for protection, it's even without walls. It's still considered to be an OL. Or Sham Sif Yugimel Kuf Yugimel Ayin Sham. Yugimel O Mishupa Havi Ogam, or a slanted tent is completely a tent. The slants of tents are like tents. No different. Because made of oil, it's like building. This is specifically where the roof has a width of at least a tefach. Or even if it doesn't have width of a tefach, but within 3 tvachim of the peak of this V, of this inverted V, it is a tefach wide. I have it parasol, like the umbrellas. But there's no tefach in its top or within 3 tvachim of the top. It's not a Torah prohibition. Nevertheless, Rambam says that's only if you didn't prepare for that purpose from before Shabbos. If you prepare for this purpose, there's not even Issa D'Rabbanan. The canopy over the bed of a chassan, it doesn't have a roof the width of a tefach, but only it was many peaks, and also also within 3 tvachim of the roof it doesn't have a tefach. Since it's made for the purpose of putting up and taking down, put it up and take it down. That's specifically if it's not going a tefach above the bed, not below the bed. So below. It's not extending below the bed of tefach. Even on our beds, it doesn't matter. No matter how far the covers of the sheets go. So the tablecloths don't matter. That's because they don't have any a shame oil. This goes very consistently with the previous sif. Because the roof is already there. Now you're not making an oil. But here, since the canopy of the chus is there only for the shade and for an oil, for tznius purposes, so then the bed becomes a roof. Because the bed is in the middle of the canopy. But our beds, oil, they're not made for the purpose of sale or oil. The DNA oil income, there's no law of oil. Again, I understand the case that he's bringing down where you shouldn't have it the sheets going tefach below the bed seems to be the wrong way. First making the ceiling and then the sides. So I'm not sure exactly what the issue is. But be that as it may, those who say any slanted tent which doesn't have in the roof or less than 3 targum in the roof of tefach, you're allowed to put up just like the kila of chasanim. Rabbeinu says he does not bring this down. So we hold like the first opinion that which is that even shpualim are considered to be like tents. It's a special din. A slanted tent is a tent, not like the kilas chasanim, which evidently were more makel. It's not clear to me exactly why. I guess because slant definitely doesn't have a tefach. Other things may do have a tefach. I don't know exactly what the difference is. I don't know. Rabbi says, "Steve Chesloy v'idea zul v'chein kam b'lerishon v'dal t'tnai shlotei b'gago pachas mishlosh some b'gago rochav tefach." According to this condition that it's got to be, it's only permitted when there isn't in the roof of tefach or within 3 targum of the roof of tefach. So tonight another condition emerges as well. That after the slant ends, lo terei tefach b'skifa below shipua. Shouldn't go down a tefach perpendicular without a slant. Can have a kol shipua kagag. Because that's the case, the entire slanted area is the gag, is the roof. But tefach b'skifa kitfonos. And the tefach which comes down perpendicular is like a walls, and that seems like a very creative chumrah to me. But maybe I don't not visualizing it properly. Yudam, mishmer shetolim masal klila seis b'shmarim l'sananon. If you put like a cloth, a cheesecloth on top of the keli to what's the word? When you use the sieve, it's escaping me in a moment. To strain dregs. Must peel the cold side, and you draw it tightly on all sides. Can't put it down on the keli which you're putting on, and you can't spread it. If it was hanging with the shmarim from before Shabbos, and that's very strange. And in fact, the Brisker Mishabur actually changed. Has to change this. If it wasn't that way from before Shabbos, can't do it on Shabbos. We said already, a roof without walls is not oil. And therefore allowed to hang a jug from a peg on Shabbos. By the strain, they asked me to shouldn't do it like you do on a weekday. Shabbos, not to make a mockery of Shabbos. Mishabura says it's made like a sack, and it's wide and open on top and closed on the bottom, and it ends in a cone. And you put some of the cone inside the keli, so the cone is inside the keli, and the walls of the keli are the walls of the oel basikol, and that it's also therefore midrabanan. Back to the Arukh HaShulchan. Now I put these dregs in it. I will tell you also but you can hang it there to put in fruit or other things. And you're allowed to put there wine and clear water that you're allowed to strain on Shabbos. The name is Zilzul Kmo B'Shmarim. And not only the dregs are being put, which you're not allowed to, it's like dust, you're not allowed to squeeze them out on Shabbos. So therefore, you're hungry before Shabbos, but it's still usher because it's Zilzul on Shabbos. Whereas wine and water, even on Shabbos, you'll be allowed to put through that strainer. Tesvav, talis kefula, a talis which is doubled over. Vashkov, let's say you fold it, and you put it on a rod. Chetze tluy amot, mikan chetze amot mikan. A long rod, and the talis is over it like that. The snakes and two ends of the talis reach the ground. Nichsalim lishan, but snakes of Vosov. So say again, that's like a pup tent. Person goes between the two sides. To sleep, protected with the sun. That beg a parcel of olios tachas sail. The garment is extended over and to be underneath it like a shade. Also, close of Shabbos now they're hanging on Shabbos. Avapi shame begago tefach, even though the roof does not have a tefach. Or pachas shosha samachlor within 3 tvachim of the roof doesn't have a tefach. Came either commercial itself, since its primary purpose is for the shade. Have a OL, it is an OL. Mishabur clarified it's called an OL, right? Which is put up also. I'm sure she'll meant the same thing. It's a clear mum Shabbos, so it's hanging on that rod for Shabbos. The same was prepared in that manner. Muta in Tosim with the Farko, then you're allowed to set it up and take it down. Mishabur kilas chasanim. All right. In other words, once it's partially up, you can continue working with it. You must have cleaned Shabbos when it was hanging from before Shabbos. Shulchan writes that a talis which is doubled over, which had strings by which was hanging from before Shabbos, you're allowed then to extend it and to remove it. And Mishabur explains that this talis has strings through which you like a drawstring, through which you can which you can extend out its sides, and that you're allowed to on Shabbos, because since it's easy by the strings to pull it out, it's as if the talis is already a tefach wide, even though evidently it's not, and it's only mostly all right, and therefore permitted. Okay, that Arukh HaShulchan says, if you're allowed to adjust it to constructively, you're also allowed to adjust it deconstructively. Wherever there's no prohibition of building, there's no prohibition of destroying either. If it has a roof with a tefach, or within less of 3 tvachim to the top, it has a tefach. Even if it's hanging Erev Shabbos, there's no tefach before Shabbos. It's an all gomer, that's a complete OL. Sharatzian says there, wait a second. No, it's saying like this. It has a gag roch al tefach, or it has less than tefach samach gag. It's not a reason to be matched to add on to it. It's a reason to aser. Even Taylor Shabbos is aser because then it is an ol gomer, and the fact that it was a tefach just makes it worth, which is no. Let's see the next line. If you're putting it in a way up on Shabbos in a way, it's even if it's already folded over the cable, but there's no you're making a tefach wide, or with tefach within a tefach wide within 3 tvachim of the top. That's no good. If it's done for Erev Shabbos, so then you continue doing it on Shabbos, right? Does Gamkin Eno Tosefas right, and it's also only adding on to a temporary tent. Does V'chem Paroches Lekadin Oel Klal also by Paroches? There's no din in OL. As well, din on Sif Dalet, the kilo open talis full, and it's even more lenient than the doubled over talis. Tzion wants to say that the Tzipur Mekel, even if you extend the Gaga Tefach, because it has strings, which I guess means it was indicated that it was supposed to be already strung out. I don't know exactly why.